what is your opinion on what's going on now with Brooklyn, where he and his wife Nicola are do not want to have anything to do with David and Victoria?
Oh, I'm gonna say this is not really my thing, but hey, now you asked for it. Look, David needs to understand this. We also learn from our kids. Yeah, learn from our kids. This thing, what happens is, to me, is a cry for help. What he should do is dump your knighthood, yeah, this fakeness with this knighthood, and go and pick up your manhood, David. That is what he needs to do, David. Yeah, go to your son, go and stay in his neighborhood, rent an apartment for a month if you have to. Yeah, and go and talk to him, sit him down, him and his wifey, and sit him down and talk and listen to him. Listen to what he says. Leave Vicky at home. Then go home and say to Vicky, Vicky, this is how it's going to be. And that's it. But for that, you need to be a man. You need to be a man. Yeah. That's why this knighthood taught that. Yeah. And go and get your manhood because that is what you need right now.
For people who don't know, you were the first husband of Spice Girl Melanie Brown, aka Mel B.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and you guys met when you were hired to be a dancer on the Spice World Tour, which was kind of at
Yeah.
the height of their fame.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah, correct.
okay. And you had your daughter Phoenix together, which is
Yes.
that's your only child, and that's Mel's oldest daughter.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Also.
Okay. Just setting the stage here. Okay. So, when you guys met on the tour, did it start as a friendship or was there chemistry right away and you were kind of got together right away?
No, we didn't get together right away. It was like this. The first night was in Dublin, where we had our 3 weeks rehearsals, and the girls came in at night, or night in the evening, 9, 10 o'clock or something, and we were still in the studio rehearsing. So there's the first time that we were introduced to all the girls, and you know. Uh, uh, she stood in front of me and introduced herself. And her first thing was like, "Oh, mine is sexy." That was those were her first words. And from that moment on, it was trying to get my attention, playing. Which for me, in the beginning, I was like, okay, that's all good because me and her, we need to have a vibe anyway on stage. And, previous to the tour, I was used to working with people on stage anyway. And I was already experienced. So I knew that, that would help. So it was not straight away flirting as such, but he did wanted to have my attention very much. So, yeah.
And when she said mine is sexy, like you were assigned to dance specifically with Mel on stage?
Yeah. Yeah, because what it was is that we were supposed to be the clones of the
Hmm.
Spice Girls in a male version.
Oh,
So almost like we were lookalikes. You had a baby Spice, you had the sporty Spice, and then me and the rest, of course. But they were all males that would kind of fit and look like the female version
that's
of the
cute.
Spice Girls. Yes. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
did you guys have to hide your romance, or was that allowed, or was it not allowed on the tour?
No, I mean, it was quite tense before this whole romance thing started because don't forget, I was very professional.
Hmm.
Um, but either way, it was more a case of, be careful. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we could get along. And there was a pivotal moment in this, a few, but it started with this, is that we were on tour. And I remember because we were already in the Netherlands on the whole, so we already had a few behind us. And I believe it was in Arnhem. And we didn't had a contract signed, the dancers had no contract signed yet, with the company, with the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because we didn't agree about certain points. And there was a person in between us and the girls. So we had to constantly deal with them, and we thought that we would get feedback from the girls, which was not the case. It was unfortunately the tour manager. He was in between. So we didn't get what we wanted. And in Arnhem, we were in our tour bus, I remember, and we decided that we would quit, all of us, if we don't get what we wanted. So, as you know, it's always forbidden. The artists and the dancers, you never talk about business. You just don't. It's forbidden.
Okay.
However, I felt that day before we had the gig, I went to Mel and I said, "Listen, we need to talk." So me and her, we talked, and I told her what was happening. That the tour manager was in between us, and she called a meeting with only the dancers and the girls, and there is where everything came out, and we got what we wanted. And basically, from there on, Mel and I, we started to, be more and more on tour together, more and more. Yeah.
Okay. And during that time, so the Spice World Tour was like at the height of that global frenzy with the Spice Girls. How were the girls handling that sharp rise to fame behind the scenes on tour?
Perfectly fine. They had fun. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Don't forget, they fired their manager. So they were the ones that made the decisions, which is, of course, what every artist really and truly wants, really, to do what you want to do.
How did you handle being on this massive tour and being in a relationship with Mel at the height of her fame?
Well, I'll tell you honestly, for me, it was also, yeah, of course, an adventure, a youth adventure. And especially the way I got into it. I never had to do an audition. This may be a fun story, maybe to tell. I was walking on the street in Amsterdam, and I met a friend of mine who was with another girl. We introduced each other. That girl who was a friend of this friend of mine. They went home
Mhm.
and they were watching some dancing videos because that guy and I, we used to do choreography for the G Star show and other shows as well. So he showed her a video of mine, and she was like, "Is that the guy that we just met?" He's like, "Yeah, that's Jimmy." And she was like, "Okay, yeah, I want him for the tour." So that is how I got the call, basically. So for me, it was like, yeah, even though the Spice Girl music is not my kind of music, but I looked at it in a different way. I'm performing, I'm going to go and perform worldwide, and I'm going to travel. So I was all in. And never expect, of course, to have any romance or whatever in that way, especially not with one of the artists.
Did she
And
get pregnant on the tour or did she get pregnant after the tour?
no, she did on the tour.
On the tour.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, which is still a big question mark for me till today, um, because like I just said, I went on tour. I am not going to go on tour to go and make somebody pregnant, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So basically, for many reasons, we was going on tour for a year or maybe longer.
Mhm.
And what are you going to do when somebody's pregnant? you
Did you
know.
have to hide the pregnancy, or did she just announce pregnancy?
No. What it really and truly was is that it's maybe a surprise, but I was not aware that she stopped with the how do
Period?
you call it? No, with the pill.
Oh, with the, oh, so you didn't know, so you were under the impression she was on birth control pills.
She was on the birth control, and she was all the time until one morning in France. We were on a holiday, on a break from the tour, and we rented this little cottage, and very nice, very romantic. But there is really and truly where one morning she told me that she stopped taking the conception pill. How do you call it?
Right,
So
right.
yes, and which of course was a shock for me because I couldn't figure out why you would try to get pregnant while you're on tour.
Yeah, it's odd timing. Yeah.
It's a very odd timing. It was for her, for them also a big time, their first world tour.
Hmm.
So I didn't. But hey, you're in love, so it was a constant thing of. We had somebody who was cooking for us in the little cottage and this and that. So after she told me, after that, it was constantly trying to see if she was pregnant.
Okay. So
And
so then
yeah,
the
that it was almost like to a point of like, hey, asking the lady that was like taking care of the house if she would take some of those tests with her and stuff like that. So it was very, yeah, it was, there is where kind of the pressure started
and
for me.
like when you found out she was pregnant, you proposed, you guys got married.
Well, no, because the pressure, like I said, it started and it got worse. Because after we discovered that we were pregnant, we were now in New York. We started now in the second leg, more or less. And there is where we discovered that we were pregnant together with the Beckhams. And there came the mother-in-law knocking on the door. Why I didn't want to sign a marriage agreement, and why do we need to get married in the church? Why do we need to get married? All that kind of stuff. So we're in the hotel, and I see Mel coming in the room, all crying. And I was like, what's going on? And she told me, like, oh, my mom is here, this and that.
Mhm.
So I went to, Andy's room, her mother's room, and knocked on the door. And like, here I am. What's the issue? And yeah, well, you're not signing anything, and this and that. And I goes, look, this marriage is between me and Mel. And Mel never said anything about anything that we had to sign. We didn't even speak about it. You understand me? And I wasn't even aware of all that kind of stuff because all I'm focusing on is the tour. Mel is pregnant. I'm going to be a father for the first time in my life. These are all happy happenings. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there comes the mom who didn't agree with this and that. And I was shocked also by that. So, again, pressure. If you're asking me how it
So
was.
Melanie's mother did not want you to get married, or she
I
wanted to
did
put,
not know what I did not know what that woman wants till today. That woman still doesn't know what she wants herself.
okay.
She's a very emotional, stable human being who just blurts out whatever comes into her mind without thinking twice. That's the kind of woman she is. And now I'm trying not to be negative, but I have enough experience for that. So and then we had an occasion that, talking about pressure, how it was for me. Then we had, of course, the occasion that Melanie decided on her own, decided the date when we would get married on her own.
Mhm.
And that was for me more or less like, no, I'm not having this. I'm calling it a day because you cannot do that. You know what I mean? And I remember really well that I said, no, I call it the whole thing off. We quit. I'm done with you. And of course, she was panicking.
Let me take you like,
And
so how did it go from that to now you have this big wedding and everybody's there, like the Beckhams are there, the other Spice Girls are there, and then how did that happen? That big
how did
wedding.
that happen? Because a good friend of hers called me and started talking to me about like how many years she knows already since childhood and this and that and this and that. And don't forget, Melanie was already pregnant, huh? Also, so Melanie and we sat down and we spoke properly, and I told her the truth, like, hey, don't do that stuff. You need to, talk to me. Hello, I am in this as well, you know. And she's like, she apologized and this and that, and we continued basically. So there is where we came to the wedding, more or less, yeah.
So then you get married, your daughter Phoenix is born.
Yeah.
What leads to the demise of the marriage?
I would say we met in a Spice Girl bubble. And after that, you come home. For her, it was more home than it was for me because I lived in Amsterdam and now I moved to England in a whole different situation than how I started. And now with a famous person. So it was I had to get used to everything. A new country, I'm gonna get married. On top of that, with a famous person, I'm gonna be a father. That's a lot of things. So there was a lot of pressure on me, I felt. And of course, let's be real, you meet in that Spice Girl bubble. So everything is perfect. Everything goes on a click. You have 3 times a day food. You meet each other whenever it is fun. There's no stress, hardly. There was, but hardly. And now you're home, and now you're gonna know each other. And then for me, if I look back, I would say that we got married way too fast. That's what I would say. Because, like I said, you're almost in a fantasy first. And if I may add, this marriage, what we had, wasn't a marriage for me. It was a Spice Girl marriage. It was a race. Who was going to go and get married first? Because amongst each other, they have this thing, this competition. At least my ex-wife had this competition with, I need to do things first.
Before the other girl?
So then the other girls, yeah. So it was constantly. Yeah, again, it wasn't my marriage.
Okay.
I can look back now. It was a Spice Girl marriage. It was planned in that way. For instance, there was a deal made with Hello magazine or OK magazine. I can't even remember. I had nothing to do with that deal, and nothing was asked to me. I did not know anything. There were decisions made about the planning, but certain things I knew, other things passed me 100%. I was focused on my family, getting my family over, and giving my family a lovely time. That is more or less my focus, and getting married. But there was so much tension from the family of my in-law family that it caused tension at the wedding itself also.
Okay.
So
Like
there is.
a fight or just tension in the air?
No, there was just tension in the air. So much that Vern, who was the guy the ceremony, master of ceremony, more or less, that he even had a speech. And in his speech, he even says it. Like, you may agree or not agree that these two are getting married, but I was with them. Yeah, exactly. Do you understand me? What kind of why would you say that in a speech?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. and that was purely from the side of Mel's family.
Okay.
And there the gossip was coming out that I was standing in the toilet next to her uncle, and that I was saying loud, "Oh, I made it! I made it!" And that kind of gossip would come out, after the divorce, of course.
Okay, so let me fast forward now. Things did not work out, and Mel tells you she's going to take your daughter Phoenix and move to Los Angeles.
Oh, well, that also, look, when it all started, I straight away went to court, of course, because the way I see it, I have as much right and I am entitled to see my daughter, and my daughter is entitled to see her father. That is mother nature. That is how I look at things. The law is terrible when it comes down to fathers. I fought in London first, yeah, while we were in London. Everything was going the way it should go until Melanie felt that it was getting a little bit too hot under her feet in England because people started to change the narrative a little bit because after her accusations that I am a gold digger, I am a this, I am a that, they started to see that she was full of lies. So she needs to get out of England, and she convinced the judge. I don't know what judge would tear father and daughter apart. I don't know what judge does that. I mean, the law doesn't make any sense in that way.
Hmm.
I have been looked at as a criminal in the family court. The judge looked at me not as a father, but he looked at me as a criminal, and that is how I was questioned all the time. I had to go via the front exit, and she was allowed to go in the back exit. Why? I don't know. Because there were so many photographers up front. What is the difference? Yeah, it is these things. I remember really well. There was a time that she was late in front of court. The judge doesn't like it when you're late, and the judge was fuming. Like, no, this and that. And my lawyers were telling me, oh, this is not going to go well for her. She shows up 2 hours late. And when the judge sees who it is, doesn't say a word. That is the power of the celebrities
Right.
in court.
You had the celebrity advantage, but then she said she had to go to LA to get more work,
To get,
correct?
she then made this story up that she had so much work in LA and with this and that agency, which was not the case because it took a good year or two or more before she even got what is it that American talent show with
Oh,
Simon
got
Cowell.
American Got Talent. Yeah.
Exactly. So she got permission in that year that I was in court, or 2 years that we were in court in England. Mate, I had to go through all kinds of tests, talking with the psychiatrist every week. And the report from the psychiatrist comes out and says, Jimmy is a natural father. These are the words, yeah? A natural father. And then as judge, you still decide to do this with father and daughter. Yeah, while you read in the report that the daughter needs her father, how much the daughter loves her father, because the psychiatrist was also coming to my house in England to come and see how I was with the child. And he had to write a report about it. So after a long fight, she gets permission, I get a court order. So on my second visitation, the first one I saw Phoenix 2 days. The second visitation up to LA, I had to travel. Again, I had the court order that says I was allowed to see my daughter for 2 weeks. And again, I saw her for 2 days and I had to fight for it. Now, in court, they tell you, yeah, but you have the court order, you can go to the judge, and this, it's absolutely nonsense. Yeah, because you have to find a lawyer, then you have to go and file all your stuff. So, and then you have to, get an appointment. It can take like a year before you have an appointment. That's how busy the courts are. So I could just rip this court order apart. And I decided then that day, that evening, that I would stay in the States and I wasn't going back to Europe, not knowing what was hanging above my head. I called my then girlfriend in England, and I said to her, like, you know what, move everything over to the States because I'm staying. After a few months, 2 months or so, I rented already a little apartment in West Hollywood. My daughter, she was going to school 15 minutes away from that. So I needed to be close by. After 2 months or so, I got a letter from Homeland Security ordering me to leave the country. They gave me several days. I can't even remember how
And
many
that's
days.
because so you were there illegally, you came to the States and you hid out illegally for years just to be like geographically close to your daughter Phoenix.
Yeah, that's the only reason, because I realized when I was there, knowing fully well how my ex-wife is and how she lives, and I knew that, and it sounds weird or not weird because we know now that it is true. I knew that I had to stay there to protect Phoenix against her own mother. I knew that,
What,
and
why,
it
like,
seemed.
what did you have to protect a Phoenix from?
Well, because I knew already in England that when we're talking about, you don't know each other long enough. I said we got married too early. Melanie got married with a totally different mindset than me. I was already a little bit older than her. Like I said, my first child, I more or less had my wild life already behind me. For her, it was kind of just starting. So she wanted to have sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I was against that. I was like, no. And you already see it with when we would go out after she gave birth. There's maybe one or two times that we asked somebody else to babysit. And that started to hit me against my chest. And I said, no, because when we was going out, it was using drugs, getting drunk, embarrassing yourself. And that was a lovely evening. I didn't agree with that. So I was like, you know what? You go out, uh, and I stay home, and I'll, stay with my daughter.
Okay.
And there is already where it kind of, goes like this, doesn't it?
Was it like just alcohol or is it like hard drugs?
No,
Like,
it was hard drugs as well. There were moments that I had to hide the coke for her in the house. Then she would go, okay, I don't want any more. And then I would hide it. She would ask me to hide it. And of course, after half an hour, it was like, where is it? Where is it? And we would argue about it. Yes,
okay.
and still till today, it's not a good drug. Absolutely not. And she can hopefully, well, many can agree with that. But either way, it's not really about slagging her off. But I am here to tell the truth. End of the day, I don't
Uh-huh.
want to start a war with her again. But the truth needs to come out because I see that in England they like to be tricked. People they like to believe the lie rather than to believe the truth.
Okay.
And
So you were basically, and people in the States may not know this, but you were kind of dragged in the British tabloids for many, many years.
for many years, I mean, there's maybe that people don't know that uh, on national TV there was a show by Richard Blackwood, and I don't know why anymore, but out of a suitcase on that show comes a huge big picture of me. Maybe they did a game or like, where are you going when you're traveling? What are you not taking with you? Whatever. Out of the suitcase comes this big picture of me, with Melanie just throws on the ground and she stamps on it. I don't know who has been insulted like that on national TV ever. I don't
Right.
know. And that is the father of your child. That is the father that your child loves very, very much.
Talk to me about the experience of the many years that you spent living in LA, basically like kind of on the lam, like just trying to lay low because you were not in the
Yeah,
States legally, and you were there to help raise your daughter. Like, talk to
yeah.
me a little bit about what that was like for all those years.
Well, like I said, so after I got the letter of Homeland Security, I then decided to stay, to go under the radar. I did not know what that meant for me. Now, I was a little bit lucky because when I arrived at that time, the governor of California, he decided that all illegal immigrants who didn't have a driver license were allowed to go and get a driver license without being arrested or whatever. Why? Because there were too many illegal immigrants driving around without insurance. So he wanted to make everybody to have a driver license so that they could insure themselves if they would be in accidents and all of that. It was a big problem at that time. So a friend of mine called me and said, "Yo, this is what's happening. Go to the DMV and go and get your driver license." Because I was on a visitor's visa, you see. So with that visa, I got my driver license and I got it for 3 years. They only gave it for 3 years. So the first 3 years when I was there, I had to go and find myself a job. I was not allowed to work. I had my driver license, but I wasn't allowed to work. I had no work permit.
So you couldn't get work as a professional dancer
No, 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 forget
because
about it.
of work.
No, because hello, it was just after 9/11 also, yeah?
Right.
2002, 2003. So there was no way I could go anywhere, anything official. I tried. Trust me, I tried. And then I realized like you need to have a sponsor and this and that.
You never said to yourself, like, maybe I should go back and forth to Europe so that I can
No,
work in New
never.
Jersey. So you just
No.
stuck it out for Phoenix.
Look, I had one thing in my mind, and like I said, I needed to protect my child. So many things that Melanie has done, yeah? And I hope that I get a chance to tell all these things because people need to hear it. This woman, and I'd say Melanie, has done horrendous things to her daughter and to myself, her and her ex-husband, Stefan. Planning, sitting together, brainstorming. This is how we're going to break that bond between father and daughter. And for that, she even threw her own daughter under the bus. But
Why
hey,
do you think
nevertheless,
I want to back up a little bit? So
please,
in the early 2000s, all this is going on. You're seeing Phoenix on a regular basis. Melanie doesn't know you're in the States illegally. And then Eddie Murphy comes into the picture,
also,
right?
well, let's go back a little bit. I am now 100% illegal. I'm in Orange County. Everything needs to go on, of course. And before I went in Orange County, there are a few other points that I really would like to mention as well. But first, I wanted to get to your point, of course. Please repeat it for me.
Yeah, okay. So in 2006, Melanie
Yes,
is dating Eddie Murphy.
yes,
He becomes pregnant with their daughter Angel.
yeah,
She leaves Eddie Murphy,
mm,
and then an issue between them where at first he doesn't really want to be in the child's life, and you actually wind up watching Angel at times because Phoenix brings her. I guess they
absolutely,
like play date.
absolutely.
Can you talk a
Um,
little bit about
yes, no, of course. First of all, unfortunately, and today we suffer still from that. My ex, she has deliberately, and I just spoke about it, feeding my child's brain with all kinds of negative stuff. So I get a call one day from my daughter. She was like, what, young, 4. And she's like, "Dad, I need to tell you something." And this wouldn't happen more. I already knew I was going to go because would do that more often and telling Phoenix in the background what to say to her dad. So she's like, "Dad, I need to tell you something. I have a new dad." And I'm like, That's already, first of all, that's already horrible. Why would you ask your child to call her own dad to say, I have a new dad? That's already like a mind fuck, if I may say so.
Mhm.
So he explains to me, yeah, and it's a very famous person, and he's so famous that he's so amazing and big, and now I started laughing because now I hear her mother in the background, and I'm like, okay, 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 sweetheart, it's all good, okay, dad, love you, dad, and that is how it is. That is how one of the conversations would go. So that is how I found out that she was with Eddie. Then, of course, the newspaper started calling me. And then, of course, the whole thing about Eddie not wanting to know that she was pregnant from him, all of that, which, by the way, Mel's mom told me in her own words what happened there, but I'll tell you later. So that is how I found out, basically, more or less. It was very annoying, if I may say so. Why was it annoying? Because I had nothing to do with it, but still, I was pulled into this whole thing. My daughter, suddenly she was taken away from school. Phoenix went to 13 schools in all those years, 13 different schools, just because mother couldn't get along with the teachers. So take her away from school, put her on homeschool with Eddie's kids, with Eddie's other kids. And I'm like, well, why would you do something like that? Yeah. But hey, of course, that didn't last long. So, because the relationship didn't go, of course. So now she had to put her in another school again. And now I'm at home and I get my daughter comes to me and visits me, and me and her we could always really talk really well. And she tells me that Stefan has a gun in the home, in the house,
Well,
and
wait,
I'm
I don't want to get to Stefan yet. Um,
okay because this has to do with Eddie, also because when I heard that, of course, Angel was already, also a little girl. I tried to reach Eddie and tell him like, hey, do you know about this guy and your daughter is there as well in the house? You know what I mean? I even called child services and all of that. But either way, I would have Phoenix, the babysitter, their babysitter, would, come with the car and bring Phoenix, and Angel would be in the car as well. That it was so funny that, you know how kids are. That Phoenix says to me, but dad, here what, you're my dad, she's my sister. That means that you're also her dad, right? And I was like, no, that's not how it is. And she was even asking me at times, can Angel come in as well and stay with us? And of course, I never asked Mel that because I knew already that she wouldn't approve that.
okay.
Uh, so, yeah, funny enough, I met Eddie later, years later down the road. I met him, and he doesn't even know that he met me. He doesn't even know that I am Phoenix or dad. Well, he knows Phoenix well, of course.
When Phoenix would come to see you, Angel would come with her to
Yeah.
come see you. So did you develop a bond with Angel?
No, 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 no. What it was is that she would be in the car, and when Phoenix would be delivered at mine, she would always wave at her little sister, and the little sister would, of course, with her face in the window, looking at her big sister going. Of
Okay.
course, wondering, you know what I mean? Wondering,
Like,
and then
like,
came the questions like, can
yeah,
she
yeah.
come? You know what I mean? Can she come? Because she's my sister, you're my dad. So why can that not work? You know, kids.
So after
Uh,
that relationship didn't work out, then Melanie moved on to Stefan Belafonte and married him, and they had a daughter together. So now you have
yes.
like the three girls in the house with Stefan and Melanie. You've got your daughter Phoenix, Eddie's
Yeah.
daughter Angel, and then
Yeah.
you have was Giselle is the daughter that she had with,
I don't. I forgot her name.
and then you find out that there's guns in the home.
Earlier than that. I can't remember what age she was anymore, but it was around 5, 6, I think, or maybe a bit older. Yeah, that she on one of her visitations told me, there's a gun in the house. Stefan has a gun, and this and that. And there is where I was like, wow, okay. I called child service. They came by. Child services went to their home. They 100% denied it. 100% that there was even a gun. Mel denied it that there was a gun in the house. Today, yeah, look in her book. She's writing about it. Oh, there was a gun. He had gun in the house. You already knew. And when you had the chance to do something about it, you didn't do anything about it. Yeah, and that is, you know, if I may, the big question marks what I have about that whole Stefan situation. From a distance, you already knew that the guy was no good. From a distance already. You get a guy in the house while you have your kids as a mother. What is the first thing that you do? You protect your kids. Yeah. I am there all that time. Never. Instead of being grateful that I am there. How many women on this planet are complaining that the fathers don't look at their kids? I went from one side of the world to the other side of the world just to be a father for our daughter. And you don't have it in you to appreciate that. Instead, you tell my daughter all kinds of stuff about her father. Oh, he just came here because he is obsessed with me. That's how arrogant she is. He is just here because he wants your mom's money. What money? Yeah, Melanie constantly talks about money. Let her come on the table and let's talk about this money that I so-called have. Yeah.
What was your impression of Stefan Belafonte and when did you meet him? At what point did you meet him and what was your impression?
I met him. We had a meeting point outside Phoenix, one of Phoenix's school. There was a meeting point also in the weekend.
Mhm.
So one time I picked her up and he was there. So he came up to me and he stuck his hand out and was like, "Hey, yeah." And I understood that, I didn't know him. I didn't know nothing about. I didn't care about him. All I cared about was my daughter.
Mhm.
It wasn't the first boyfriend that Melanie had since she was in LA. So I was like, well, I'm not interested anyway. You know, my first impression, I didn't have an impression. It started when my child would come home and it started with little things. I was trying to teach Phoenix certain things. A, manners, top number one, and she needed to listen. I was also trying to teach her, doesn't matter how much money you have, that doesn't mean that you always have to buy the expensive stuff. So when I would go shopping with her, I would get her, sometimes with Christmas, I would get what she wanted. Hello, I'm her dad.
Mhm.
If she wanted to have one of those gadgets, a PlayStation, they were expensive, she would get it, which after a month, suddenly it was gone. Where is it? I don't know. Stefan took it. I would buy her Nikes that are mid-range. Nice Nikes. Hello. And she would take them home. And the next week, when I would see her, she wouldn't wear them. And I would ask them, where are they? Oh, Stefan took them. And I'm like, then what do you wear then? Oh, no, he bought me other ones. And then he buys her the expensive ones. So constantly trying to undermine me, what I was trying to do as a father. That is how the little things started. And that is when she would come, I would see that she was upset, my daughter. You know, a little girl, oh, Stefan says this, that. And I'm like, oh, leave him. Don't worry about him. Don't worry. And I would see, like, but she would be upset. You know what I mean?
Well, did
Because, of course,
she
he would
witness
say mean things about her, about me, you know?
okay.
So,
Did she witness abuse of Melanie, like what Melanie alleges in her book?
look, Melanie alleges a lot of things. She forgets a lot of things. All the things that she did to Phoenix and me. All the mean, not mean things, devilish things. that I'm thinking back and I'm like, how on earth did you think of that? That you just go together at the table and you go and decide, oh, let's do this because then this is gonna happen. And for that, you don't care. You throw your own daughter under the bus. You don't care if she has traumas after that because you just want to achieve one goal, and that it is to break that bond. And I never understood as to why. Yeah, I was also disappointed that our marriage didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But you're mature enough that you're like, yeah, like I now say, you know what? We married way too fast. We didn't know each other. But no, in her eyes, Melanie needed to cover up that she went with Max Beasley. Yeah, in our marriage, she went with another man. To cover that up, it was point the finger at me. He's a gold digger. He is gay. He doesn't want to have sex. So it is all your fault, your fault. Yeah? Do you know how come that I became Mr. Gold Digger? In a program, there is another program. That's what I'm saying. In England, they went for it. Yeah? For me. In the program now with another guy, another black guy, and I don't understand these black dudes that they just want to make careers stamping on another black dude, but that is another thing that's coming for them still. Now it's Trevor Nelson, BBC documentary The Player. Deliberately, he is asking her, so Jimmy's going to get a lot of money, huh, with the divorce. How much is he going to get? She's like, well, a lot. And he's like, tell me, what, 20 million, 25 million? And she goes, yes, something like that. Boom. And I was Mr. Golddigger from that point. It is not possible by law, yeah, that if you are married, we were just married, what, 2 years, 2.5 years, yeah? By law, if the judge needs to make a decision, they will never give you half of what the other one has, or you I already told you how much I got, yeah? So far from, and Melanie knew that. She knew that. Now, the BBC today, if you go online, the BBC cut that piece out because they know they are guilty. They know that it is a lie, that it was a lie, this whole gold digger thing. And then you make songs about me, and then you write 2 books with my name in it. It's a never-ending story. And in the meantime, you're shouting. Look, let me say it like this. When Mel and I were together, yeah, we had a big argument one day. The next day, in the morning, there's a lawyer from her office, yeah, asking for a conversation with me in the house with a paper that says that he will give me 60,000 if I pack my bags because he heard that we want to break up. That I am going to get 60,000 if I pack my bags and leave today. Then you want to tell me, yeah, that you're staying with somebody for more than 10 years and also take a child with him after 8 years. So more than 10 years, you're staying with somebody that you claim that abuses you. Yeah? With me, one argument, and the lawyer was already in front of the door. What does that tell me? Yeah? It tells me this. You're not telling the truth because there's not one woman that doesn't protect her kids against an abusive man. Yeah? She failed in that. She totally failed to protect her kids. Till today, she still needs to apologize publicly to my daughter and maybe also to her other daughter, maybe, for getting a psychopath in the house.
And
Yeah,
that is her, just to clarify, that's her, was her second husband, Stefan
that is
Belafonte.
Stefan. The guy is a psychopath. He's a
Yeah.
psycho. Yeah, and
And
you get him in the house
she was with him for 10 years, married.
or something like that. Yeah.
What is your theory on why she stayed with him for 10 years?
Well, here I'm going to tell you the only reason, because you hear these stories of women that are abused and this and that. And that's why I tell you the story that with me, one argument and the next day, that is how powerful Melanie was. Now you're in the States. Now you're working with Simon Cowell, with all these other celebrities. Every single day you're working with them. You want to tell me that if you would have said to Simon Cowell, hey, I am being abused at home, help me out. Within a second, the police would be there. Within a second, they would help you. Within a second, you would have your bags packed and you would be safe somewhere. Within a second. She never did that. That's already questionable. That I'm thinking, right? So the second question that I have like, okay, you go around and parade that you're having your sexual orgies and your drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll life, and you're bragging about it. Yeah, that you in Australia slept with that stripper, in LA you slept with that stripper, all of you all together. Yay, one happy family. Good for you guys. You brag about it. Yeah. When you break up with the guy, you embarrass yourself. You go around Los Angeles with the police because you're scared that your ex is having, Stefan in this case, is having your sex tapes and you're scared that he's going to show them to the world and all of that. You embarrass yourself. And what do? You pack your bags and you leave. You leave this dangerous man, so you claim. You leave this dangerous man that has been abusing you, you leave him with your newly born baby. You leave my daughter alone in the States and you pack your bags and you just leave. And you take Angel with you. Once you're in there, once you're in back in England, you start to complain that he is abusing you and this and that. Why are you leaving your child when he's abusing you? And you forget you have been an abuser yourself. You have abused your daughter and you have abused me. And hardcore. Stefan himself came out in the news and he even, with his own words, that that was Melanie's plan all along. That is what she did. Yeah. Again, I repeat it again. I am there in LA for my daughter, for nothing else. Going and fighting for 13 years in court. 13 years I fought for the right for my daughter to see her dad and for my right to see my daughter growing up. Two of those in England and 10 of those in the States, 10, 11, whatever it is. While I was illegal, sometimes I had to go in court without a lawyer because I didn't have the money. I simply didn't have the money to hire a lawyer. So I had to stand there and in my best English and lawyer language, try to defend the rights of my daughter and myself. She still got what she wanted, no worries. Even that, after a while, started to change because going back to the 400 pounds, there was a moment in time, I got a phone call and it was on my answering machine actually, but I called, Melanie called me. She's like, hear what, we need to talk. I goes, please talk. Phoenix wants to come and live with you. And I get a big smile on my face straight away. I'm like, wow, yes, because this is what I wanted all that time. Yeah. And now my daughter herself, she's like, wow, I want to go and live with my dad. So while I'm on the phone, I'm like, she's like, so we need to talk and make that happen. And I was like, yeah, of course we make that happen. No problem, no nothing. Not even a bit in my mind about money. Not even a bit. I am too happy that my child wants to come and live with me. I'm over the hills. In the background, suddenly somebody grabs the phone and I get Stefan on the phone. And he goes, you're doing this only for the money. You're going to go to the judge and you're going to go and ask the judge for money and this. And I'm like, first of all, who are you? Who are you? And secondly, go and ask Mel. We are now 10 years, we are now further down the line. Melanie needs to pay me £400 every single month. I have never asked for that £400. I have never received that £400. So now to come and accuse me that my daughter wants to come and live with me. It, how can you accuse me that I do this for the money? How on earth can you do that? But they did.
So with her second marriage to Belafonte, you're
Yes.
claiming that the reason she stayed in the marriage for so long was because of sex tapes being held over her head? Like,
No,
no.
no. What it is what I'm saying is Melanie and him are as bad as each other. So he didn't use drugs, but he made sure that she was okay. So he was feeding her. He made sure that they had that her sexual fantasies are being done. So you already see it. He's the supplier, and she's the one that accepts it. Now, what I mean is, you don't stay with somebody for so long that abuses you the way she claims that he abused her, and you're not getting anything back in return.
Okay.
Because, of course, she got back her sex, drugs, and rock and roll. After a while, that went like
With
this.
him. Okay.
With
Okay.
him, of course, it clashed. Yeah?
But
Keep
what
feeding me,
were,
keep feeding me.
but then what, so that, but then when she left him, she was worried about blackmail material being held.
Yes, because they made all kinds of sex tapes and this and that, and she was afraid that he put it somewhere in storage. And this whole thing about her and the police in LA going to find this storage because she was afraid that he would publicize it and all of that. Just an embarrassment she made of herself, and that's why she had to leave the U.S. as soon as possible.
Okay. All
Again, so what I'm saying is there's a pattern there.
right. Okay.
Yeah, if you have
Legally,
listened, there's a pattern. In England, it didn't go well with her publicity because after they tried to just literally kill me, it didn't work out. So what happened? She left. It was too hot for her, and then the same thing. It was too hot for her in the US, so she left to the UK, back to the UK again.
so
I
you
mean,
believe that she has an undiagnosed mental illness?
absolutely. That is what I believe. And today she even admits it herself. She says that it is PTSD and all of that. No, because you were already abusing drugs before you met Stefan.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay? Because when you was with me, I had to hide the drugs in the house. So this problem what you have was already there. Okay? But now you met somebody who would, instead of going against it, who would go with it. Yeah, I was
Okay.
going against it. Now you find somebody who was like, "Ooh, I can use this." Yeah, and that is what he did. Um, he just gave her what she wanted, basically. And
Okay. And
again,
now your daughter is 27,
yes,
Phoenix? Okay.
yes.
So talk to me about your current day relationship with Phoenix.
Okay, it is good in the sense of we love each other very much. I know that. We both have that. However, like you already hear with the little stories that I tell, and it's only a few of them
Right.
that I tell you right now. When you tell a child from day one all kinds of negative stuff, and you do all kinds of negative stuff, it doesn't matter how much that child loves you, things are gonna stick. Yeah. So I notice because I'm older, I notice that with me and her, these things are coming up. It has to do with a certain trust.
Mhm.
Even though we're both trying really hard, we love each other dearly. I mean, she looks like me.
Yeah.
uh, in many ways. Also her character in a way. So, yeah, me and her, we clash sometimes. And I know as a father, it is because of the past. It has left us, both of us, with traumas. And of course, for her, she wants to forget about it. But I know as an older, that is not how traumas work. You can do your utter best to forget about them, but they will return.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm afraid, for my daughter, in the sense of, you know, the backlash of it all. But yet again, I don't, I am worried, and that is the honest truth. But I hope that the love that we have for each other, that it will heal those wounds that me and her have.
Did the two of
And that
you ever do therapy together?
No, not in the sense of she lives in England. I am now here,
Okay.
so um, it's spending time together. We do spend some time. We call each other, but still, the past is still there, and I know that, and it is another reason that it is very hard, you know, to understand a mother like that. It's like I said. You have a guy here that comes all the way from the other side of the world to be a father for your daughter, but you find yourself more important. Your hate against me is more important. Look at your daughter. Look how much she loves her dad. Yeah, I remember so well the first call. I was in America. I landed, and the first call was calling my daughter. I goes, Phoenix, dad is here. And you know what? I made a decision. I'm going to stay. I am staying. And Phoenix shouts to her mother, Mom, Mom, can you believe it? Look, 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 Dad is here, Dad is here. It was quiet. Not a reaction of Mel, not a word. That was so uncomfortable, even for my daughter. Like, she was so over the moon, but it wasn't shared by her mom in that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that was the blueprint, because I still scratch my head. You feel that you have been in danger all those years. You knew exactly where I lived. Come and talk to me. Get our daughter out of dangerous harm. You understand me? You get a warning with the gun. Still nothing. No, you say no, no, no. It's not true. Yeah, I am in America. Like I say, any woman that has kids that wants their father that their father is not in the life of their kids, they would be jealous of this.
Hmm.
That a father travels to the other side of the world just to be a father for the child.
Hmm.
Do you hear Melanie ever talking about that? No, she only talks about me, 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 me. Listen to me, listen to this. And then you go back, and you know what? And if I may, yeah, Allison, that is already what I don't understand. And then you go back, knowing full well how much our daughter, lost her father, knowing it full well, because I won't go into that now. All the things that you had to do to break that bond. So that means that you knew, yeah, how much my daughter loves me. That you never ever thought in your mind, like, you know what? Never mind what I feel for you, but what you're doing right here, I am going to support that, because it is better for our daughter that she grows up with love of both parents, and
Hmm.
not the way Mel has done it. So then you go back to the UK and you start writing a book. You write my name again in that book in a negative way. And then you have the audacity to ask my daughter to write a piece in the same book where you slaughter her dad. But you have the audacity. This is why I'm saying mentally, yeah, anybody who has a bit of mental saneness
Right.
would think about these things. But she's mentally not 100%. She only sees one goal, me, and that's it. And I will throw everybody and anybody in front of the bus to achieve what I want. Yeah? Same thing what she did with me. She goes astray with another guy in our marriage, and she managed somehow to turn it around on me. Why? Because people are so stupid these days that they believe a celebrity, whatever the celebrity says, they believe, especially in those days. I said goodbye. I didn't have time to say goodbye to my mother, my family. I didn't see them for like 20 years or so, most of them. I said goodbye to my career. I said goodbye to my life, to my friends, to everybody. I didn't say goodbye. I just stayed overnight in the States, and I decided there and then I am going to stay. And again, I did not know where it would take me. It would take me down a path of homeless. I have been homeless twice. Mentally, it took its toll on me mentally, very much so. So much so that I could not remember anymore who Jimmy was. I remember the days that I was walking on Sunset Boulevard, because that is all I did sometimes is walking when I was homeless. And I had the thought of me performing again while I performed my whole life. And I had a thought of me performing, and it didn't click. And there is where I knew that I was mentally not okay. I could not imagine that guy anymore who was performing for thousands and thousands of people
Right.
his whole life. And I couldn't get that guy anymore. I couldn't get Jimmy anymore. I lost myself. I know now what it means when people say when you lose yourself. I know now what it means when people always say, I would do everything for my kid. Would you? I know what that means. I did everything what I had and more.
Did you walk
Um,
away from dancing, career prospects in Europe
from
when?
everything. I walked away from everything. It was not the only thing. While I was in the States, I had many offers from Europe, the Netherlands, dancing. So you think you can dance? All those dance programs. They asked me, "You want to be? Can you come and be a judge for us, one of the judge members?" And I had to cancel it. Celebrity House, get me out of here, whatever. I had to cancel it. I was getting all these offers, but I couldn't do it because once I would leave the States, I couldn't go back for 10 years after that. That meant I wouldn't see my child growing up. So I indeed, I gave up everything. When I say everything, I gave up everything. And it gave me difficulty afterwards because I needed to go and find Jimmy again. My daughter was older. I went back to the Netherlands. And now I needed to go and find Jimmy again. And that was a difficult task, very difficult,
Okay.
because I was constantly only focused on my daughter and to keep her safe. And that's it.
Okay. Now I have to ask you about this because I don't get
Please,
it. So
please, please.
there were all these recent headlines where you were making comments about David Beckham and you were saying, well, I wish he would tell the truth. Tell the truth about what? What happened?
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I finished all of that. But this is what it is. This whole thing, what I let out. Because, Allison, it is time for the truth. Yeah. Like I said, I have lived many years in the States illegally. I couldn't. I had to make sure that I wouldn't get too much attention drawn to me. So I had to be careful with all of that. But yes, what it is that David and I met, and it sounds maybe very weird, but David always wanted to be my friend.
Okay.
Uh,
And this is going back to the early days when.
This is going back to the early days. This is how it started. So I used to be a very stylish little fella, and you build your own style, your own brand, right? So during rehearsals in the beginning with the girls, David used to be there and for Victoria. And one day Melanie comes up to me and she goes, "Hey, yo, David loves your style, man. And he's asking, where do you buy your clothing?" So I had my homie right there as well. And I asked him, "Yo," because I couldn't leave. I was in the camp. I was like, "Yo, can you please go to our shops and get him some clothes for David? Our style, my style." So he did, brought back two big bags, gave them to David. And David went home and he shaved his head and he wore the clothes and boom, there he was. The David Beckham that we now know as the icon David was born, right?
Funny.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Then he saw my tattoos and he's like, "Oh, whoa." So he asked me about the tattoos and I arranged because Claudio, he's in heaven now, was my tattoo guy. He's the same guy that tattooed on my finger our wedding ring.
Mhm.
He is the same guy that we invited on tour to come and tattoo multiple people like the band, Mel, just name them.
Mhm.
And so it was more than natural that Claudio would do his tattoo. So David and Victoria come to my house, to our house, and start doing the birth name of Brooklyn, which they couldn't remember at that time. They had to call Vicky's mom if she could remember what Brooklyn's birth date was.
Wait, they didn't know Brooklyn's
No,
birthday?
they didn't. They couldn't. No, they couldn't remember. They couldn't
They couldn't
remember.
remember their son's birthday.
No, they couldn't. She had to call Vicky's mom
How
to
old was Brooklyn at the time?
to confirm.
A baby?
Hey, I'm just saying that is how it was, you know.
So Victoria
And
and David remember
yeah,
Brooklyn's birthday.
yeah.
And who
So
did they have to call to find out his birthday?
Vicky's mom.
Vicky's mom. Okay. So that David could get a test.
So yeah, to get the date right.
Okay. Okay.
Because it was only his date, what he wanted. So that was his. I remember it like yesterday. You know, at a certain moment he got. We did it in Mel had in our house a little room that was like her meditation room. So we did it there, the tattoo. So before we started, he was lying down on his belly and he was like, "Stop, stop, stop, stop." He was getting all white and he asked for a cigarette. And I was like, "A cigarette? You, David? You don't smoke, bro." But he was so nervous for the tattoo. So he smoked a little bit of the cigarette, then he went down and we did the tattoo. And it was just a small one, you know, like this, boom, done. After that, I have a wingman on my back. Wingman, a guy spread wings like this. And David has exactly the same tattoo, just a little bit higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same exact,
Um,
like exact
yeah.
design. Okay.
Almost. Yeah. Knowing that he saw it with me, that's why he asked my guy, you know, come and tattoo also on me. You know what I mean? So on the left arm here, on the inside, all these spots that he looked at me and he's like, "Oh, I want this, I want that." I spread around the pictures on Instagram with the stories. At a certain point, I saw it happening. And then it is like, okay, maybe it's a compliment. People were telling me, like, "Yo, David is like copying your style, my man." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool. You know, you're okay with it." And then, not only that, also cooking. You know, I told you I like cooking. So there were plenty of times they were at our place and I would cook. And then he would go home and make the same dish. And it would be in the papers. "Look, David can cook. Look what he made." And I'm like, wow. But never, ever he mentions, like, you know what? So his book comes out. Let me ask you something. We have for everything the first. Your first bike, your
Yeah.
first Nikes, your first girlfriend, your first boyfriend. Do you forget that?
No,
No, you don't, right? You don't.
no.
If you go in his book, in his documentary, ask him about his first tattoo. In the book, he says, "Oh, my first tattoo, yeah, Melanie knew a guy that Jimmy knew." And I'm like, "You are such a liar, bro. Because why don't you tell people the truth? You know why? With the whole styling. Channel 4 saw it happening also. And they came out with a program called Black as Beckham. Yeah. Because he was dressing like a black dude. He was copying me. Yeah. So I put all the pictures online. I have them all online. I put them all out. Everybody saw it now. And people were trying to accuse me of, oh, you want money and this and that. I'm like, no. You know what? How I was brought up with, and if I may say so, I'm just going to be frank, with looking and seeing with the black history of how white people have stolen from style to music to
Mm,
whatever from blacks and made it their own and then go, oh, we are it. Yeah.
mm.
It happens right in front of me now with David.
So that's
Look
what
at
you took.
Eminem.
That's what you took.
Would it be fair? Would it be fair to compare Eminem and David? Would be fair, right? Eminem and David. Look at Eminem. Eminem goes around and he goes and pays respect to all the rappers. Why? Because there is where he got it from. Yeah? Musicians, artists, they will all tell you where they have their inspiration from. Am I correct or not?
You're correct.
David, in his documentary, when they ask him, where do you get your style from? Oh, from old movies like James Cagney. You are a lying son of a gun. Since when is James Cagney dressing like a hip hop rock star? Since when is he wearing change? And I didn't see James Cagney wearing that style. So, what is it behind all of this? I tell you what it is. At that time, that David was trying to be my friend. He even said to Victoria after we went shopping in Paris, which again was not under my request, it was his request. Can you ask Jimmy we can go shopping? So I brought him to go shopping to go and wear,
You're making
buy
it
the
sound
sarong.
like you're making it sound like he had like a man crush on you.
But that is what it was, though, because that is what I'm trying to tell people, though. But people are like looking up to this guy, and because everybody in my shoes would be like, oh, no, I jump on that, I jump on that. It wasn't like that. I wasn't like that. You know what I mean? I had my own friends, and I like being on my own. I like going into town on my own and go shopping or whatever, discover stuff. There is one time that I asked him to go out. One time. All the other times it was David. Ask Jimmy this, ask Jimmy that. So neither in his book, in his documentary, your first tattoo, no recollections of it, no nothing. In his book, nothing.
Right.
Why? When Mel and I broke up, David was trying to be my friend all the time. I asked him once when my daughter was born.
Mhm.
I rented a bus and I invited all my male friends to go and celebrate my daughter's birth. And we were going to a famous strip bar in London. It's no issue for me. I'm from Amsterdam. And more so, I would tell my wife, Melanie, at that time, I was like, I'm going there. There's where we're going. So you know that we're going there. It's no problem for me. I didn't go for the girls anyway. I am going there for the atmosphere. So I asked him, we're going to go for my daughter's birth. Are you coming? He was not allowed. Kiki was like, no, he's not coming. So that didn't happen. All the other times that we were like invited or together or was because he asked for it. Yeah.
Okay.
So when we Mel and I broke up, and I tried to contact David, he was missing. David was missing because there his PR machine, and that's how he thinks. And again, we see it what is happening today, yeah. And I knew it then already, yeah. You cannot be seen with Jimmy because Jimmy has a bad reputation, a reputation that the press gave me. So
So he cut you off. That was that. He
he
just
cut me. He cut me 100% off.
what?
Yeah, he cut me 100% off. Yeah, even when we moved to the States, we're in the States. They moved over there. I get a call from Victoria if Phoenix can come to Brooklyn's or to one of their other kids' birthday, but I have to drop her off and not come inside. And what do you mean? I'm not welcome. If I am not welcome, my daughter is not welcome. She ain't coming, and that's it.
Right.
I was there illegal, so as you know. So when I was looking for David, I was like, you know what, David, you're already stealing my style and you're already making millions, millions because why it's so pivotal. From the moment that David went like this and put on the clothes that I gave him and the whole swag, you know what swag is, yeah? It's the
Yeah.
whole way of doing. I gave him the brand. Yeah.
Right.
The brand, what he started. That is what I gave David. I gave him a brand because David was not brandable. He looked like a choir boy before he met me. Yeah. You see the pictures with his quiff and his, what is it? You know, like a
Yeah.
choir boy he looked. And then after that, he met me, boom. And all the contracts start flying in. Yeah. Suddenly
So
he was
I just want to
Mr.
ask quickly because I'm about to run out of power here. Just real quick, what is your opinion on what's going on now with Brooklyn, where he and his wife Nicola are do not want to have anything to do with David and Victoria?
Oh, I'm gonna say this is not really my thing, but hey, now you asked for it. Look, David needs to understand this. We also learn from our kids. Yeah, learn from our kids. This thing, what happens is to me is a cry for help. What he should do is dump your knighthood, yeah, this fakeness with this knighthood, and go and pick up your manhood, David. That is what he needs to do, David. Yeah, go to your son, go and stay in his neighborhood, rent an apartment for a month if you have to, yeah, and go and talk to him, sit him down, him and his wifey, and sit him down and talk and listen to him. Listen to what he says. Leave Vicky at home. Then go home and say to Vicky, Vicky, this is how it's going to be. And that's it. But for that, you need to be a man. You need to be a man. Yeah. That's why this knighthood taught that. Yeah. And go and get your manhood because that is what you need right now. And not go and blame, oh, kids are like this, kids are like that. No, that's absolutely nonsense, mate. Yeah. You now need to go and get your manhood and go and get your son. Hey, I know what it is. I have sometimes issues with mine. Look, I had to go to the other side of the freaking planet to go and be a father. So you want to tell me what to do? I don't think so. I know what I had to do, and I followed my heart. And the whole world was against me. Yeah, everybody, and I fought I fought against something that was bigger than me. It was way bigger than me. But we're here. We're here. We're standing. We're here. Yeah. And that is what matters. And not this PR nonsense and this celebrity bullshit. I always had a motto, and I'll end you with that. And I always said it in the past. My motto is this: we all stink in the toilet, people. All of us. Yeah. We all stink in the toilet. And if you let that sink in, then you're gonna realize like what I mean to say with that is this. Outside that toilet, we all keep this screen of perfume, dressing, smiling, acting, personalities, the way we think that people like us. But when we're in that toilet, all of that is gone because we all stink in it. We all of it. Nobody smells like Chanel 5 in there. You understand me? Nobody. Everybody stinks the same. And that is how I look at people. And that is how I want to end this. And that is my message to these people.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. I will speak to you soon.
Okay.
You can listen to this entire episode and other interviews of mine by going to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and downloading and subscribing to the Allison Interviews Podcast.